So our next speaker is now here in the building, and that is Philip Lloyd, who is Chief Marketing Officer of Purplebricks. Philip is going to be talking to us about the difficult second album and the Purplebricks story. So if you can please put your hands together and welcome him to the stage, that would be wonderful.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. Thanks, MadFest, for having me. There's a few people leaving, so I'll let them settle down. And apologies to the camera people. I'm a pacer, so hopefully that's not annoying to have to sort of track me across the stage. Hopefully not. But look, so today you're going to hear from a ton of really interesting, disruptive brands, Lucky Sane, Allbirds, and so on. And Purplebricks in some ways fits into that model, but is a little different. And I think my contention today for the next 15 minutes or so is going to be that some brands get to disrupt once and some brands get to disrupt twice. And I think that's really what I mean by the difficult second album. And no great marketing presentation that this hopefully is complete without a quote. And so what is the difficult second album? What does that mean? So in the world of music, there's a common phenomenon known as the sophomore album curse or syndrome, where newly popular artists often struggle to replicate their initial success with the second album, which is often characterized by struggles in changing music style. What I mean is that ultimately, it's very easy to disrupt once. It's really hard to disrupt a second time. And that's the story of what this presentation is today. It's about a brand that had stellar, unbelievable success that lost its way, and then there's a team of us that are trying to disrupt again, but it's not easy. Very quickly, who am I? I'm Phil, I'm the CMO. I'm ex-advertising agencies. I've done a couple of startups, a FTSE 100, and 2 private equity scale-ups as well. So I guess the idea is that I should know a little about what it is to disrupt a category. But I think the key thing to sort of quickly talk about is why second and why difficult? What was that initial wave of disruption that the brand experienced? And I want to take you back to 2014 when the brand began. Michael Bruce, the Purplebricks founder, had a mantra in the business. He said that estate agents have been charging too much for doing too little for too long. This spoke to the sharp-elbowed nature, the disruptive nature of him and the founding team behind the brand. They wanted to take on a very, very traditional category, and they wanted to disrupt it. And they did so from a position of thinking and saying that the core category, core estate agents, are quite literally charging you too much money. They don't actually do anything different from each other, and they've been doing that for far too long. It's a very, very sleepy category. And if you think about it, we're a property-obsessed nation who uniquely hates the people that actually help them move and hates the process by which it takes to move home. It's not a particularly sexy thing, is it, moving home? It really isn't. But yet we have this huge hinterland of content around estate agency. We have Stath Lets Flats. If you guys have seen that, there's a very niche reference here that I've got from a Stuart Lee sketch where instead of being infested with rats, actually someone is infested with estate agents. We have Kirsty and Phil. We have Homes Under the Hammer with Martin and his invisible piano. And then you have the ultimate hate watch TV, which is Selling Sunset and Selling London, which is truly, truly awful. And it does a very bad job of characterizing the industry. But we're obsessed with it. We're obsessed with properties. But we don't like the people that help us do that. It's a really, really old school category. There are 0 barriers to entry. We could all decide right now to go and set up an estate agency if we want to. There are hardly any qualifications required. There's 20,000 of them all around the country, if not more. And what that means is that there are few economies of scale to be gotten. 70% of those 20,000 are just one branch agencies. It's just a couple of people that decide to set up a business, and they turn over, when you combine it up, quite a large amount of money, but individually not. So they can't afford good software, they can't afford good marketing, and there are just a few national brands, of which Purplebricks is one of them. So it's a really old school category, and one would think ripe for disruption. And continuing on my album theme, which I've really gone for in this presentation, by the way, so hopefully you're keeping pace with my album analogies here. The first album of Purplebricks, this was what the brand did when it launched in 2014. It had, fundamentally, no branches. So that idea that you would walk around the high street and you'd look in the shop in the window and look at what's for sale, and then latterly you would do that more on Rightmove. But that idea that you had to have a presence on a high street was for the birds, really. It is kind of pointless. There was no employees in the traditional sense. So we had people that were self-employed who had a huge self-motivation to go out there and make money as agents for Purplebricks, but we didn't actually employ them. And then there was no commission. So if you sell £1 million house or if you sell a £200,000 house, the estate agent does the same amount of work for that move. They value it, they list it, they get some buyers round, and then they get to exchange. It's the exact same process no matter what the price of the house is. So Purplebricks believed that we should charge a fair fixed fee upfront for the services rather than as a percentage of that eventual sale. So no branches, no employees, no commission. That was truly, truly disruptive as a model and as a proposition. And boy, did they back it with marketing. It was a true marketing-built and marketing-centric business, and still is, and that's what I'll come on to. But you might recognize some of these ads. I've put the ads on. There was a ton of wider marketing as well, beyond just traditional channels. But they really spent heavily. A very high proportion of revenue was spent on advertising. So some of the famous campaigns that you may or may not recognize, and that was successful. And this became a rocket ship business of the truest sense. Created a significant market share, the quickest ever market share growth in the history of the category. And because it's so stratified, it's incredibly hard to grow quickly in that category. So to get 7% market share by the end of 2019 was huge. Over 80,000 five-star reviews on Trustpilot, second in the category behind Rightmove, which is a portal, significant revenues, huge awareness and consideration was generated in a really, really short space of time, and over 300,000 customers. The business floated on the stock exchange and became a sort of darling stock, if you like, of the late sort of 2018, 2019 period. And all was well. And then America and Canada and Australia came calling. And I think it's fair to say that this was the moment the business started to lose its way. I think the floor of the Atlantic is littered with British businesses that think they can just take on America and succeed. And the business raised £100 million to go and launch as a technology play across the world in those English-speaking markets. The rocket ship started pointing southwards pretty quickly after that. The launches did not go well. They didn't have enough money to do it at scale they wanted. The founders exited, which is probably the most key sort of cultural point that left, that cultural thrust and ambition left the business. The quarterly reporting of the PLC caught up with it. There was a move to employ people rather than have that sort of sales instinct that you get from the self-employed people. The technology wasn't fixed when the sun was shining. And I think the big point here was that it regressed back to being quite like the category that it had tried to disrupt. And I think that's the critical sort of midpoint here, that the startup, the scale-up, the disruptor, it regressed to the mean of being just like most of the other people in a large part that the brand was competing against. And something that was once worth in stock market terms, the market capitalization of £1.3 billion ran out of cash quickly and was sold for £1. So where to go from there? What does the second album look like to try and recreate some of that growth, but in a different way and in a more long-term, thoughtful way? So we started in two different ways. The second album ultimately starts with what do customers want and what do we stand for and what's in our DNA. And I think my message today is, if you are in a business that has had an initial wave of growth or wave of disruption, and you're then looking for that next growth curve, it's a pretty good place to start, and we've got a lot out of this. So we thought about who are our customers, what do they want? We found it very hard to segment the market, interestingly, for the hardcore marketeers amongst you. It doesn't segment very well. Actually, we got to a mindset of our customers through quite a bit of research, and this entrepreneurial self-starter, people that use Purplebricks, get out of bed in the morning and they're proactively after a better future for them and their family. They don't just want to save money, but they want to get out there and really create a future for themselves that's different. They don't just want to follow the norm. They are middle of Lidl people. They are on Vinted, proudly so. And they don't trust real estate agents. They just want to know the real story. And that married nicely with what we are about, what the core of what the brand is about. We're a proud value player. The airline categories, the hotel categories, grocery, supermarkets, everyone's got some real key value brands in them. And we are that in our category. But we do that via technology. So we charge less because of our superior technology that allows you to see more. And we're available 24/7 as well. So you're not playing telephone, voicemail tennis with estate agents in the traditional way. And so our second album, if you're bearing with me on that album analogy, which I really am torturing here, but our second album was in these three places. A team of experts, so no longer someone that's holding your hand through the entire process. It's ridiculously inefficient. It doesn't actually, they're busy doing other things, not wanting to help your sale. So we have a team of experts in the business now that will hold your hand through that move process. We can sell your home for free. So we have an eye-catching price point that prompts reappraisal from people. How can you sell my home for free? Well, here's how. And it is a genuine offer, and we make money when we upsell you along the way. And we also have a much more flexible way in which we can speak to you. So we have a virtual way of interacting with us and an in-person way as well. So next time an estate agent comes around to your house, they're not valuing it. It's a sales meeting. The data sets are now so accurate that actually we already know the value of your house. And so we actually can do that virtually via a video call, just like you can with banks and other things, to a really, really high degree of accuracy, and obviously much more efficient from us from a cost perspective. So we enable people to see behind the curtain, that Wizard of Oz moment where we reveal the curtain and see what's going on within our own business, and then we show how we're able to charge less for that for customers and be that value brand. It helps people become empowered. It helps people to own their next move. And that sense of ownership and empowerment is a really, really critical thing, that those people that I spoke about, our customers, with that mindset that they have, that really meets their need state as well. So a sort of classic marketing slide here of a stock shot of the office wall, but here goes. You're free to choose how to sell your home, from full support to zero fee. Nothing's hidden, no smoke and mirrors, no jargon, no truth bending, no pushy sales patter. Everything's on the table. We make our money through optional extras. So you're free to pick and mix as much or as little support as you want, all the way to completion day. Own your next move with Purplebricks. And as well as that, we've started to refresh the brand. We've started to open up the brand to allow yourself in with data, with let's be honest, some slightly better looking graphics and logo. We've refreshed the all-important for sale board. Ours don't say for sale or sold on them. They say own it or sold it. We created some advertising. We're proud to be starting to advertise again. We have a concept that is on TV at the moment. We're in out of home and a range of other channels. where we call out the bullshit of the high street or the BS of the high street. And we're about no fees, no bull, don't go along with the herd, and so on. And next year and beyond, what does that third album look like? Where do we keep innovating, and where do we keep moving this category onwards? It could well be an all-in-one-place app where we connect together the entire value chain into one customer experience: sales, lettings, legal, and mortgage. There's possibly an ultra-light version as well for those people that just don't want all the weight of moving with an estate agent and all the cost that comes with that. And there's possibly a increasing digitization contrast as well. Those classic estate agents like a Knight Frank or a Savills, they might well be giving an even more personalized service in the future, whereas we're giving an even more of a digitized service in the future as well. So there's this balkanization potentially of the category at large. So the difficult second album ultimately is difficult if you change musical style. And I think our point is that for this second album to be successful, we need to revert back to the core principles of why the business was set up in the first place. And I think it is something for every brand that's here. If you work at a disruptive brand or a startup or a scale-up, or you're thinking of doing so, the lesson of the story for us was that when we lost sight of who we were and what we were about, that's where things started to go wrong. And actually, our second album with our new owner, who's Sir Charles Dunstone, who's built many successful businesses, it's about reconnecting with that entrepreneurial spirit. That's in our DNA. We exist to make the category better. The category is awash with businesses that don't provide great customer outcomes. And we're really proud to add propulsion to all of that proposition with brand as well and with marketing. And we'll be back on air lots in the future, I'm sure. That's the story of Purplebricks and our difficult second album. Thank you for having me. Thank you.